Avengers, Shadow Protocol Episode 1, System Failure, Expanded Scenes Cold Open, Sector 7R. 2:17 a.m. rain lashed viciously against the monolithic Stark Industries R&D facility, Sector 7R. Inside, fluorescent lights hummed monotonously in sterile corridors. Security guard Jenkins yawned cavernously, his breath fogging slightly the chilled air. His partner, Vasquez, tapped impatiently her stun baton against her thigh. "Quiet night," she muttered redundantly. Suddenly, the air shimmered violently 10 feet ahead. Jenkins squinted suspiciously. "Vasquez, you see that?" Before she could respond, a distortion solidified abruptly into a figure clad in liquid obsidian armor. Energy batons crackled ominously to life in its hands. Multiple Hosti, a second figure materialized silently behind him. A vibrating, phase-shifted fist punched cleanly through his chest plate. Jenkins gurgled weightily, eyes widening horrifically before he slumped forward lifelessly. "Intruder," Vasquez bellowed hoarsely, bringing her baton up. Then it swarmed hungrily from his fingertips, burrowing microscopically into the security panel. Circuits overloaded spectacularly with blue-white sparks. The vault door hissed pneumatically and slid open smoothly, revealing rows of humming, ice-blue server stacks. Cold air poured out chillingly. 2 cores ejected silently, one pulsing a sickly green project, Nightshade, the other shimmering with unstable gray light, Shadow Protocol. He plucked them decisively, tucking them securely into a compartment on his thigh. The energy bolt splashed harmlessly against metal. The guard spun fearfully, searching. Prometheus reappeared lethally inches away, his armored fist crushing mercilessly the guard's windpipe. He stepped disdainfully over the body and walked calmly back into the storm-lashed night, dissolving seamlessly into the downpour. The only sound, the relentless drumming of rain and the waning electronic scream of the alarms. The shadow suit soldier moved impossibly fast, a blur of darkness. Its baton connected brutally with Vasquez's temple. Alarms blared deafeningly, casting strobing red hellite over the scene. His armor absorbed greedily the frantic energy blasts from remaining guards, its surface rippling like dark water. He ignored contemptuously the screams and sizzling ozone smell. A tendril of pure shadow lashed out whip-fast from his shoulder pauldron, coiling tightly around the guard's neck and snapping it audibly. The body dropped limply, his destination, Vault Sigma. Steve Rogers, Captain America, moved fluidly, a study in controlled power. His shield whirred lethally through the air, ricocheting perfectly off 3 reinforced polymer drones and returning satisfyingly to his grasp with a solid smack. Sweat glistened healthily on his brow. She collapsed bonelessly, hitting the polished floor with a sickening thud, his jetpack thrummed steadily. "Heads up, old man," Sam called down teasingly. He banked sharply, releasing a salvo of micro-chaff pellets that detonated brilliantly, disabling efficiently a cluster of drones. They sparked violently and dropped like Stowe. Jenkins fumbled frantically for his sidearm. Sector 7R, breach. Down the main corridor, Prometheus strode purposefully through the escalating chaos. He halted imposingly before the glistening, biometallic door. A guard lunged desperately from a side alcove. Prometheus didn't even turn. Prometheus extended a gaunted hand. He moved efficiently to a central terminal. Data cores pulsed rhythmically within shielded slots. His fingers danced precisely over the interface, bypassing ruthlessly firewalls. Behind him, the last guard fired wildly. Prometheus vanished abruptly, not invisibility, but a perfect, instantaneous mimicry of the wall texture behind him. Scene: Avengers compound. Dawn. Training room sunlight streamed goldenly through the vast, reinforced windows of the compound training room. Dust motes danced lazily in the beams. High above, Sam Wilson, the Falcon, soared gracefully amidst a swarm of smaller, faster drones. Scene: Pier 17 Warehouse District. Dusk. The confrontation. The dilapidated warehouse near Pier 17 loomed forbiddingly against the blood-orange dusk sky. The air reeked pungently of brine, rust, and decaying fish. Steve Rogers and Sam Wilson approached cautiously, hugging the deep shadows cast by towering stacks of corroded shipping containers. Steve whispered gruffly, his voice barely audible over the distant clang of buoys and the mournful cry of gulls. Steve's shield hung ready on his arm, his senses hyper-alert. On his visor display, faint, pulsing heat signatures glowed intermittently inside the warehouse. 4, maybe 5. Thermals are ... jumpy, like they're phasing in and out. Definitely our guys. No sign of the big boss, Prometheus. Sam's Falcon wings were folded compactly, his visor scanning thermally the warehouse structure. Sam, what have you got? All right. A section of the warehouse wall seemed to liquefy violently, swirling like oil on water. 3 shadow suit soldiers stepped through seamlessly, their forms flickering unsettlingly between solidity and near invisibility. Energy batons crackled menacingly to life. Standard breach. Just try not to get phased into next week. Sam, you take high ground inside, provide cover, and disrupt. I'll go in loud and draw fire. Keep an eye out for those cores. Sam pointed upwards silently. He spun rapidly, his shield slicing horizontally towards the second assailant. The soldier phased partially, the shield passing harmlessly through its torso, but the disruption forced it back into solidity with a grunt of static. Steve nodded curtly. They splashed harmlessly against the adaptive armor of the third soldier, who looked up contemptuously. It raised its hand, a pulsing sphere of distorted energy gathering rapidly. The baton impacted thunderously, sending shockwaves vibrating painfully up Steve's arm. The suit's camouflage stuttered erratically on contact. Copy that, Cap, Sam acknowledged, his repulsors whining softly as he prepared to launch. Not an explosive, but a sonic emitter. It detonated silently, releasing a piercing, high-frequency shriek. Before Steve could respond, a bone-jarring, metallic screech rent the air. He stood silhouetted on the crane, already knocking another specialized arrow. Sam called back, regaining altitude and firing suppression bursts. No knock, Steve muttered grimly, planting his feet solidly. Sam, go. The conductive netting sparked violently as it made contact, disrupting the phase field completely and pinning the soldier solidly to the ground. It thrashed uselessly. Sam kicked off powerfully, his wings snapping open fluidly as he shot upwards, engaging. His shield became a blur, blocking, bashing, ricocheting. One tango left dancing, Clint replied, tracking the sonic-stunned soldier who was stumbling blindly. It washed over the disoriented soldier. Its suit flickered wildly, then shorted out completely, revealing a dazed, ordinary-looking man beneath before he collapsed unconscious. He feinted left, then drove his shoulder powerfully into one soldier's chest, sending it crashing heavily into a stack of pallets. Before it could phase, Steve brought his shield edge down brutally on its weapon arm. Steve lowered his shield cautiously, scanning the warehouse interior. Where's Prometheus? Friday? Any sign? There was a crunch of fracturing tech, and the baton fizzled out. The soldier screamed electronically. The lead shadow suit lunged blindingly fast at Steve, its baton arcing lethally towards his head. Steve brought his shield up instinctively. Stark's sins ... demand payment. Grand Central Terminal ... noon tomorrow. Witness the dawn ... of true chaos. They're vulnerable when they attack, Steve yelled, shoving back forcefully. No further thermal signatures detected within the warehouse perimeter. Distraction. Noon tomorrow. He's going to hit a crowd. He activated his comm. Natasha, Bruce, Fury. You get that? Above, Sam dove sharply, firing precise repulsor bursts. Steve ... if he uses the Nightshade device in a place like that ... The neural cascade ... it could turn thousands into mindless aggressors within minutes. It's worse than we thought. His eyes snapped open, glowing an unnatural green. His mouth stretched impossibly wide, not in a scream, but emitting a piercing, modulated shriek that scraped Raleigh against their eardrums. Sam, incoming, Steve warned. The weight of the city pressed down heavily. The energy sphere launched viciously. Sam barrel rolled desperately, the sphere grazing his wingtip and exploding deafeningly against a container stack, sending shrapnel flying dangerously. Before noon, Prometheus had drawn his line. The Avengers would cross it. End of Episode 1. Avengers. Move out. Evacuate covertly if possible, but stop that demonstration at all costs. Banner, find me a weakness. Romanoff, find him. Rogers, you have tactical command. Move. Suddenly, an arrow whistled precisely from a high gantry crane. It impacted squarely on the energy-wielding soldier's shoulder. The shadow soldier convulsed violently, its form flickering uncontrollably, the camouflage glitching spasmodically. It clutched its helmet, staggering backwards. He shook his head. Gone. Used him like a puppet and then burned him out. Hawkeye's in the party. Clint's voice crackled cheerfully over the comms. About time, Barton. Steve pressed his advantage, driving forward relentlessly against the two soldiers engaging him. The remaining soldier facing Steve phased completely, reappearing behind him, baton raised high. Steve spun, but knew he was to slow. Thwip, thwip. Net arrows enveloped the soldier instantly. Thanks for the save, Hawkeye. Steve breathed heavily. Anytime, Cap. Sam swooped low, firing a focused EMP burst from his wrist gauntlet. Silence descended abruptly, broken only by the crackling of damaged tech and the distant harbor sounds. Negative. Captain Rogers. Friday responded in his ear. Sam landed lightly beside the netted soldier. They were just the welcoming committee. Suddenly, the unconscious soldier Sam had EMP'd began to shudder violently. You ... interrupt ... the cleansing. The voice rasped distortedly through the man, clearly not his own. The man's body arched horrifically, then went limp, a thin trickle of black fluid seeping from his nose. The green light faded from his eyes. Steve, Sam, and Clint, who had rappelled down, swiftly stared grimly at the body. The stench of ozone and burnt circuitry hung thickly. Neural override, Clint muttered darkly, kneeling to check the man's pulse. Sam kicked a piece of shattered shadow suit armor. Grand Central, Steve's face set into granite lines. Natasha's voice came back instantly, cold as ice. Loud and clear, I'm on it. Prometheus just declared war. Bruce's voice followed, thick with dread. Fury's voice cut through, commanding, Avengers, converge on Grand Central. Steve looked at his team. Sam, hovering ready, Clint, arrow still knocked. The ghostly promise of Natasha already working, Bruce's dread echoing in his ears. All right, Steve said, his voice low but carrying steel. We stop him. The ruined dockyard faded behind them as they disappeared into the gathering night, the threat to Grand Central hanging over the city like a shroud.